I worked in consulting for 28 and a half years. And I often got asked the question, how did you survive that long? I mean, it's a grueling career. There were times where I was on 5 cities in 5 days across the country. And there'd be days I'd wake up in my hotel room and go like, where am I? What am I supposed to do today? Literally, I had those, and it might take me 10 minutes to go like, I'm in Philadelphia. Okay, it's this client. It's these people. Okay, I got it. And I was like, is this old age setting in early or what? But it was just hard. It's just hard. So how do you survive that? And I learned something, and this is so important too. You learn things in certain places that you'd never know that you grab that piece of knowledge or wisdom and put it in an entirely different context. But my secret to that is this. I was in an accounting class, and the professor talked about to show that you're financially viable, you have to zero out your short-term credit at least once a year. Okay, so if you have credit card debt, make sure you pay that off at least once a year. If you can pay that off once a year, you're solvent. You've got it going. And there's been times in my life where I was paying one credit card with another credit card advance, and it was just really hard, and that's really a bad way to do that. And I was doing that kind of stuff, and it's like, I'm in trouble. So you know you're not in trouble if you've got enough cash solvency to do that. Okay, great thing to learn in accounting. When I got to Accenture, where I worked for 28 and a half years, early in my career, about 5 years in, I got asked to participate in Native American ceremonies on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Way out of my reality. And it was awesome. In the first year, we went for a week, and my friend asked, hey, I've got this other one. Do you want to go for 3 weeks? I was like, you don't understand. I can't take 3 weeks off without losing my job. He's like, so? I was like, no, I love my job. I'd like to keep my job. Will you come next year? I was like, I'll come next year. And then he put his hand on my shoulder and said, so on our friendship, you promised to try to come next year. There was something bigger in the air in that moment. And I was like, yeah? Well, this is a good story. So December comes along. That was in July. December comes along, and I'm talking to him. He was a Purdue person too. And he said, hey, are you going to come to South Dakota with me next summer? I was like, oh, it's so hard to take 3 weeks off. I don't think it's going to work out. He's like, but did you try? I was like, oh, no. He said, well, you promised to try. On our friendship, you promised to try, right? I was like, yeah, I got it. So in March, I got a phone message saying, hey, I want to talk. I was like, oh, I haven't asked. So I went to my client, and I said, Nancy, I've been asked to do this thing in South Dakota for 3 weeks this summer. It was about March. And boy, that's a critical time in this project, and I'm in this very critical role. And so if you say no, I totally understand. I was putting every brick in that wall that I could. And she said, no, you should go. I was like, nah, Nancy, you really don't understand. I mean, this is going to be hard. She said, no, you should go. So then I was like, okay, interesting. So I went to my boss, and I said, hey, in consulting, I said, I've been asked to do this thing in South Dakota. And the client, they're naive about consultants. They never had consultants before. So she said yes to go. And what I do there is really important. And it's really critical that I do this. And so if you say no, I totally understand. I'll just tell my friend that, I can't go. He literally got up from behind his desk, walked around the desk, put his hand on my shoulder and said, when I was your age, I was asked to go on safari in South Africa. I said no. I've regretted it my whole life. You should do this. This was like the Red Sea parting. I was just like, this doesn't happen in life. This is weird. So I called up my friend. I said, I'm coming with you to South Dakota for 3 weeks. So he showed up. We went out to South Dakota that summer. And I continued going out to South Dakota for 3 weeks for the next 20 years, every summer. Getting back to the whole point of, how did you make it so long? And this is what I think of, just like short-term debt. That's for financial solvency. This was emotional debt. I could work, and then as long as I knew I had that 3 weeks off, to go do this other thing and be in the sun on the prairie of South Dakota, totally different than flying around being in 5 cities every week. Man, that was just awesome to be there. And my brain, my consulting brain didn't go with me. I got to be that brain. And so it was just, I zeroed out that emotional debt, which was great. So that was one secret of my, success over many years. It's like, you gotta zero out that emotional debt, that stress debt. And I did that, and I do that every year. I encourage people to do it every month. I encourage people to do it. Right now, I have a world an entrepreneurial lifestyle where every Thursday I have no appointments. I'm zeroing out my emotional debt every Thursday. I know that's coming, except for when I'm here. And then I'd say, even in the shortest amount of time, you can zero out stress debt, emotional debt. And I have a way of doing that. And I took Tai Chi for years. I used to teach Tai Chi, and it's just like, take a deep breath. And now I can begin again. And I just did emotional debt. Anything that came before that, I don't remember. So that's a renewal that can be done at any time. So that's how I take care of handling stress in any moment, short term, long term, is really zero out that emotional debt.